Hey guys, so today I had a wonderful, brilliant, fantastic idea. So before I get into what this video is about, I just wanted to say that it was inspired by my little flirtation with working at Taco Bell my junior year of high school. So I worked there for about 6 months from the summer of my sophomore year up until like December of my junior year. It was an experience, but it was fun. It was fun. And working at Taco Bell, anyone who has like worked in the service industry whatsoever knows that you get some freaking weirdos. You get to see all kinds of people in all states of being, and I decided what this video is going to be about is I'm going to be categorizing YA characters as fast food customers. Okay, if you guys see a red line on my forehead, ignore it, it's from the hat. This is why hijabis don't wear hats. So I started off with the OG classics, you know, I know them like the back of my hand. Katniss and Peeta, delicious. So I genuinely think Katniss would be the kind of customer that wouldn't ever like enter the establishment. I'm gonna use Taco Bell as a reference because I work there. So she would be the kind of person who would never walk into the lobby or like the little dine-in area. She would only ever do drive-through, and she'd be the kind of person who like is very quiet. You never really know much about her. She always comes at like odd periods of time, like 3 in the morning or like middle of the day when no one else comes. And she would come to drive-thru and she would like whisper her order, like, I would like a taco. I would like a hard-shell taco with sour cream. And you would be like, what did you say? Like, sorry, ma'am, can you say that again? And then she would repeat it and you'd be like, can you say that again? Because you didn't hear her. And then she would scream like, I want a taco with sour cream. And you'd be like, okay. Like, she's quiet until she snaps. Those are her 2 modes. And those customers are always fun to deal with. She'd also be the kind of customer who, like, when she pulls up to the window, you hand her you hand her the food, she would drive off the second her hand touches the bag. Like, she does not care if your hand is still in her window. Like, she's gonna zoom.
Trapping out the back street, running through the patch like a trap me. Zoom.
And then I think Peeta would always be with her, right? Because goals, we love dependency issues. But I think Peeta, before Snow messed with his brain, would be like, I'm so sorry, she's not usually like this, or whatever. Like, he would be very apologetic. But after Snow, quiet, or he snaps too. He's like, I wanted mild sauce with this too. So yeah, they'd be not great to deal with. So next I decided to do the 6 of Crows characters, so Kaz, Inej, Nina, and Jasper Wylan. So I don't know these characters super well because I've only ever read the book once, unlike some of y'all. But what I got a feel of is I think Kaz would probably like be the kind of guy who watches the exit the entire time. Like, they would enter the dine-in and like, let's say Inej is ordering, he would like stand behind her very stoic and watch the exit like that, like the entire time, and it would make me uncomfortable. And I live in Texas and we have open carry here, so I feel like he would have like a gun on him or something, and it would just be out, like an intimidation tactic. And it would make me feel so uncomfortable. Yeah, and then I think Inej would like be ordering, and then she'd be really sweet to overcompensate for the fact that Kaz is behind her being super freaking weird. I mean, I guess I'd have to just deal with it. I think she'd order for the both of them too. Yeah. Nina, I think Nina would just be really sweet. She'd be really nice. Some nice conversation. Yeah, there's not much to say about her. And then Jasper and Wylan would probably be like a goofy couple, and they just would order good food. Like, they would order something and just sit down and be goofy, and I would just think to myself, wow, I should order that when I get off work. Yum. Okay, so next I did Hardin and Tessa. This was so much fun. Okay, they would be the worst couple ever to deal with. So they would come in, this is my imaginative scenario, they would come in and then Tessa would order something, or like would take some time to order. She'd be the first one to go, and she would take some time to order and like would look at the menu, take her time, be like, what do I want? And Hardin would get like impatient and start saying snarky, rude comments under his breath, and I would just be there like, may I take your order? May I take your order? And then they would like start fighting because Hardin would get like really pushy. They'd start fighting or bickering or whatever, and it'd be super uncomfortable because it would be like the passive aggressive type of fighting where it'd be like, you never know what you want, and like he would like talk to me like, can you believe she's like this, like she's such a child. And I would just be like, sir, this is a Taco Bell drive-thru, like, can you leave me alone? Like, they would literally drag you into the fight. I've had so many couples like that. Like, they would just, like, one person would take a little bit to order and the other person would get really passive aggressive about it, and then they'd start bickering and they'd be like, what do you think? I don't think anything. I think I'm here for a paycheck. I don't need to deal with this right now. It would just be super uncomfortable, like in the worst way. I say a lot of people on here would be uncomfortable to deal with as like a cashier, and they would be uncomfortable to deal with, but I think Hardin and Tessa would be the absolute worst to deal with. Also, I think Tessa would be the may I talk to the manager type of girl. Like, let's say she asks for something with sour cream on it, and I put that I want it with sour cream on it, and the kitchen doesn't do it. Because, side note, if something messes up on the order, there's like a 95% chance it wasn't the cashier, it was the person in the kitchen. Thank you. That was a PSA. Anyway, she'd be like, can I talk to the manager? And like she would just complain to the manager about me while I'm there, and it'd be super uncomfortable. And then she'd go, Tess would be like, oh, like I ruined her day, like I should go sit down and enjoy my food now. And I would go in the back and I would laugh with my manager. That would be the type of scenario I see happening with Tessa. And then also, side note, if they had kids, their kids would be awful. I can tell you that right now. They'd be the kind of kid who like runs around and is screaming and is throwing stuff all over the floor. And then at the end of their little meal, Tessa and Hardin would get up and leave. They wouldn't wipe the table. Like they wouldn't take their stuff off the table. They would leave the tray there. They would leave the trash there. The floor would be a mess. There'd be like cheese and rice everywhere. Like the soda would be spilled, and no one would like warn me of anything. So I would just have to, like when I walk out, I just see the mess, like a crime scene of murdered food. And like Hardin would be like, oh, it's her job. It's her job. Like he's that kind of guy. How do I know them so well? It's like I can get inside of their heads. But this is a scenario that I can see playing out with Hardin and Tessa. Yeah. Next, the Gilded Wolves. I don't remember any of their names because they're a bit unremarkable, but I feel like I should mention them too, because even though I don't remember much about the book, I do have the general feeling that they would all make me uncomfortable as hell if they came into Taco Bell. Like, they would just make me so uncomfortable. I don't know why, I can't pin it down, but like they would come in and order, and I would just be like, when they're done, I'd be like, thank God, like we're done. You can go, next. Like I don't want to talk to you anymore. So Kel and Lila from A Darker Shade, like the Shades of Magic series. Lila, I think, would be a very sarcastic person. Like if I were to be like, oh man, take your order, she would like order her food, and then I would say it to her to confirm, or I'd be like, oh, do you want that with or without sour cream? And she would say something like, what do you think? And it would be a bit like biting, and I would feel a little uncomfortable, but it would also be pretty funny at the same time. I think that's like what that would be. And then I think Kel would also probably try and like overcompensate for Lila being sarcastic or being like a bit rude. And he would like try and tip me over the register. I can imagine that scenario very clearly. Like he's like, oh, here, you can take this, like here, take this money. I'm so sorry, take this money. And then Alucard and Reese, I think they would be so lovely, like the most lovely of all the people listed out in this video. I think they would be the perfect mix of like actually ordering their food and realizing that they're customers and I'm not like a sounding board and that there are people behind them. So they would just like order their food and then give me a nice conversation and then just go. Next, so Francis and Alid from Radio Silence, and Rain, Karis, and Daniel also from Radio Silence. So I think Francis and Alid would be the kind of people to apologize through their order, or like they would order something and they'd be like, oh, can I order that? Like, can I have this? Can I please have that? Do you guys have this? Like, they would be overly like just making sure that I'm not uncomfortable, or they would make sure that like I know that they're not trying to be like rude or anything, or like they'd be like, if that's okay, can I have a soft taco if that's okay? I'm like, yeah, of course it's okay. And then if there's something wrong with their order, I feel like if they even come up to me to complain, they would be apologizing the entire time, like, I'm so sorry, like I'm so sorry, but I asked for this without sour cream. I'm like, so sorry, I'm so sorry, like that kind of scenario, which is nice, but also stop apologizing so much, you know. And then I feel like Rain, Karis, and Daniel would be the kind of people who are like nice enough to order from, like they're just regular customers, but like once they sit down and there's something wrong with their food, or there's something wrong with like Alid's food or something, they would make sure like, ma'am, can you come over here? Ma'am, we asked for this without sour cream, can you please fix that? Like they'd be those kind of customers. Next, Hardin and Jude, I think from The Cruel Prince, I think they'd be so freaking weird, like just so weird, more so than like most of these other people on the list. Like they'd be just so uncomfortable. I feel like they would order food and it would be a weird power play, like, oh, he wants that, well, I want that and this, and I'm just there like, okay. You know. Okay, Resend and Feyre, I think they would be so corny. They would be the corniest couple. Oh my gosh. I feel like they would order their food and they'd like baby talk the entire time, and it'd be so uncomfortable. Like it feels like foreplay to something, and I'm like just there trying to order their food, and they'd sit down and they'd eat their food and they'd be too close and they'd be like touching each other and kissing each other the entire time, and I'd be like around them trying to fix the tables and take up the trays and stuff like that, and I would just so gross. I also think that they try and make eye contact with me. I don't know why. There's nothing in the books that I read to like prove this point, but I feel like they're a bit of like an exhibitionist. I feel like they would try and make eye contact with me and it would make it like another layer of uncomfortable. Ooh, so weird. I feel like they'd be so weird. So weird. Like, sir, this is a Taco Bell drive-thru. Why are you doing this to me? Okay, the next note that I have is the Lunar Chronicles. So I have like all the little couples listed out. I feel like Cinder and Kai would be chill. They would just like know like, oh, this is, you know, she's here for a paycheck, I'm here for food, this is a transaction. Next, I think Scarlet and Wolf would be nice, but I feel like Wolf would order something super weird and I would just be thinking about it the rest of my shift. I also think like Scarlet and Wolf would make a mess, but they'd also try and clean it up, but I'd also have to like come with the mop or something at some point. Cress and Thorn, I think they'd flirt the entire time, which it's cute to read about, but I feel like it'd be so uncomfortable if I was there taking the order. Like, Cress would be trying to order food and Thorn would be whispering in her ear and she'd be like giggling through her order and I'd just be like, there's like a line behind you, ma'am, can we hurry this up? Winter and Jason. I think Jason would be so stiff, and then the same thing with Kaz. I think he'd be like watching the exit the entire time like that, like and he'd have like a gun, like open carry, and I think Winter would be like a little loopy and I would just feel unsettled after the order. Next, Warner and Juliet. Nice. So I know there are a lot of like Shatter Me stands on BookTube. I didn't really enjoy the books and I haven't read past book 3 and I'm not going to read past book 3. So this assessment is up until book 3. So please don't like scream at me. So Warner and Juliet, I feel like Warner would order the food for Juliet. Like Juliet would be overly quiet and I'd be very concerned for her person. Like she'd be like just a little too flighty, like a little too, like, you know, something's wrong. Yeah, Warner would order for Juliet and it'd be super uncomfortable. Like he'd like whisper like, what do you want? And she'd like whisper like, but she wouldn't say it out loud and I would have to like go based off what Warner says to me. I also think Warner would be very pretentious. Like Warner would order something, he'd sit down, he'd eat it, he'd come back, he'd be like, I did not like that at all. I feel like the taco was blah 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 blah. I think this was da 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 da. Can I have a refund or can I have this instead? And I'd give him like a different meal and he'd be like, oh, this was like not that great. Or he'd be complaining the entire time while I'm like cleaning up around them. And I'm like, sir, this is a Taco Bell. Were you expecting fine dining? Like take your ass to Taco Cabana if you want that. Like this is Taco Bell. The taco was $1. Any taco that's $1, like you know that they're cutting corners somewhere. Also, I think they'd be like very overly affectionate. Like they'd just be like touching too much. I'm like, do that in your car. Like can you go through drive-thru and then park and then do that? Like why'd you have to do that in my vicinity where I can watch you? Gross. So yeah, that's my little YA fast food customers fiasco, my little assessment. I feel like it's very accurate, but you can disagree with me if you want. So yeah, I'm Sarah. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.